Okay, to get through the easier aspects of emails, which is what we're really going to focus on here, which you've probably heard a million times, just the basics. I'm going to go ahead and sidebar this video and just talk a lot more than we go through a whole bunch of discussion and reading. And you may want to take some notes. And if you print this PowerPoint out, you can use this note section because you won't see me sitting here. So that said, let's go ahead and get to the basics. Emails are actually a series of steps to get your subject properly communicated. Basically, we have this subject line, which is what we're going to talk about, that pretty important place we need to understand. The salutation, which is your greetings and hello, Mr. or dear so-and-so. Your first paragraph, which is where you establish the basis of what it is you're trying to do within that email. Your body is all your research data, all your homework and everything. And of course, the close is where you put a synopsis together on that to where anybody can walk in and read that last paragraph and understand what it is you're looking for. So in the subject line, the first thing that we do or we skip is the subject line. And it pops up and we really just want to get a thought out real quickly. So we go da 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 da, and we don't formulate a subject line. And we're going to talk about that because we've had about 10 years or better to be able to understand how this stuff works, because we didn't use subject lines the same way in formal communications 10, 15 years ago. So now that we've kind of had a chance to look at it, the subject line is, in modern terms, your first impression click rate. And it's used a lot in web design and everything. How often does, when you pop on your emails, and just think of it this way, all your emails pop up and you got 30 new emails, and your eyes are immediately going to skim down them, and something's going to grab your attention. That's the first place you're going to click. And that's what the subject line really should be. It's your grabber. And what you're trying to do in business is grab them to the events that are the most important, that you're the most important guy when you send something through, and hopefully you'll use that with respect and don't throw things out and then not have it be important. But nonetheless, these subject lines are what that's all about. We've also found in time that hit rates don't mean anything to us in regards to marketing and financial. They do to the corporate people, but not to us. However, we're very, very, very focused on making sure that our communications are resolving matters, big issues. So we're more interested in hit rates and return hit rates as far as communication flow compared to that, how often do people look at that email. And as a subcontractor, we have to remember on these subject lines that the general contractors, owners, engineers, and all these guys are dealing with hundreds and hundreds of subcontractors and vendors. So at a basic minimum, you've got to give them something that makes them understand that it's you and that it's important. So that's what your basic subject line is all about. So moving in from the subject line, you have your salutation. And the purpose of the salutation is to greet your reader with some, whatever respect level you've accomplished with that guy. And it indicates your respect for the person and your professional relationship with that person. So if you treat somebody professionally, they in turn treat you professionally. The two of you become more professional, and more people are, it's building that relationship and that professionality into your game. So, and it may seem odd at first, but in time you'll find that Dear Jim, if you know him very well, is a very acceptable salutation. Using dear is not a big thing, but we're in business and we go, is that okay to say dear? Or is it, should I say, reference or come up with some weird salutation. No, be honest and sincere, and try and get them, if it's a Mr. and you don't know the guy that well, say dear Mr. Kingsman versus dear Jim. But the key in this part of the salutation is to show respect to that person. And by showing respect, you're only going to gain more interest and increase your professionality. From there, we move into the first paragraph. And the purpose of the first paragraph of an email is to get your reader a short and concise view of the subject about which you're about to discuss. It could be something like, why is that light fixture, why hasn't it been ordered on so-and-so date? Well, that's what you're researching to determine who's at fault and what needs to be done to resolve the issue. So that's your first paragraph. You're stating the issue as you know it at that point. And hopefully you've already clarified it with whoever asked you the question, that you know the right answer to the question he asked. So you understand the question and you're just reiterating it and impressing upon it. So what you're really trying to do in that first paragraph is get a who, what, when, where, and why. Give it some background. Say, this is what we're about to talk about. Make sure your reader can understand it and that it's all about what you're going to discuss in your email. You don't need to don't add anything, but leave as much in as you need to reference to your body of your email. So as we move in, as we keep going through it, the first paragraph is going to set your subject, and your body is going to follow and support that message. So it really, essentially, as you do your body, you might find you modify your first paragraph a few times, because as evidence reappears, you have to kind of go, wait a minute, I didn't think that was what was happening, but it is. So really think of it as your thesis statement. That first 2 to 3 sentences in that opening statement, that first paragraph, is really a thesis statement. And you're trying to say, these are the issues that I know, and this is the resolution that we're trying to seek. And you're breaking it out as to what you're going to address within what's the parameters of what you're going to research and answer in the form of your email. And the more you look at your emails as time goes on, you're going to see it's really, you got 3 sections to every email. You got the first paragraph, the body, and the close. And I can always look by a close if the guy really has an answer or not. You can look at the beginning and see if the guy you'll see a lot of times a guy will put his first paragraph up there and his body won't even match half of what he's talking about. So, or he'll have too much stuff in there that he didn't address. So, it really helps you. You can judge those emails very quickly by looking at those 3 different aspects to them. So, now that your first paragraph has set the tone, it's time to address the factual aspects of the situation. Make sure you've done, and this is moving into the body. So, make sure your first paragraph has set the tone, and it's time to address all the factual aspects of the situation. And, make sure you've done all your homework and then you've formulated your solution. Compose your body as a paragraph that details those issues in a fashion that best serves that company. So, I mean, your company, because if it's something that needs to be said, say it, but there's benefits to saying it properly. And, you are working for your company, so you want to put the best position for your company in those statements, providing it's factual. And use your active voice. This will really make your emails pop versus other people's, meaning you get better results. And use that active voice. Don't wishy-washy around, and perhaps the group of people may consider doing this. If you have a position, make the position in lieu of just allowing it to linger and linger in a series of emails that last forever. So There are many, many techniques to technical writing and composition. They can be quite helpful. Using the historical approach is one that is probably used the most. And what you do is when you've assessed the situation, you start at the beginning of time and you just work each aspect to it. You just do your research until you have a complete understanding of how the situation started, what was intended at the time it started, and where you are today, and what made it come to this difference over here versus where it started here. And then you factually point out where these issues are. And it depends on the type of circumstance. You may be trying to mitigate an issue, which means that we're learning from this and we're seeing some bad trends. Let's go ahead and adjust this, this, and this to overcome that issue. So you're just making a suggestion at that point, but you're factually doing it the same way as if you were justifying a change order that should have been this and it ended up being this. So nonetheless, that historical approach works very well because you have all the data there to really refute or understand anything that's being thrown at you. And that's the trick. Make sure you got all the data. And once you get it to where you've got that best possible story that you can tell based on the facts, and really a story will pop out of it. It being who shot John? I mean, why did that fixture not get ordered? Well, somebody didn't count it and it was in the estimating department and on and on and on. But you will get to an answer and there'll be a way that you can work your way through that. And once you've got that figured out in your mind, that's your body right there. Just type it up. Make sure you do a spelling and grammar check on it and do everything else you can. And there you go. And that finishes your body and you're almost done. So, but before we go there, we need to talk a little bit more. Once your composition has been established, the body represents the need of the projects in the best possible manner. You're really trying to put the best spin on it. Not a spin that means you're saying something that's not true, something that you can't substantiate at any time of the day, but you are going to put your perspective towards it, which is in the view that the company is right. And therefore, just make sure that those bodies have that attribute to it. It's for the company that you're writing it, and that you're loyal to the company that's saying what it needs to say. For business emails, it is standard to state your position of a body in a short, concise close, right? That's all you're trying to do in your close is trying to take the body and just get it real nice and short, and that, brings favor to your company. So when you're writing the body, you should always think about the close. Always think about what you're trying to get to at that very end, and only provide the information that really is relative to get the final close, which is your resultant, what you're trying to get out of that effort that you've made through that email. Now, you laugh and you say, well, I get 200 emails. I don't have time to think about all this stuff. And we're really not saying that. We're saying that this would be something you would do if you were about to lose $1 million or if it's $1 million issue on the table. But however, every little bit of your email has something to do with that $1 million. And so what we're saying is if you can just bring to each little problem the same theory of thought, it's not going to take 2 seconds to do 90% of these things. Just make sure you go through the process. And, we're not wanting to slow you down and make you into intellectual email writers by any means. We're just trying to show you that through time, because you're going to be pounding hundreds of these every day for years. So as you get better and better at it, these things should be just kind of second nature in the way you go about doing it. And that's what we're saying is building your soft skills in to the hard skill management system. So it's easier said than done, but it's quite rewarding when you get there. Now the close is basically completed within the body. The first step of a close is summarizing all the info. You're trying to summarize everything you put in that body into 2 to 3 sentences. And you're going to have to try and establish from the research, which you've already done, right, what it is you're providing or needing. You're trying to say, whatever, this email had a purpose. It was either to provide something to somebody or to get something from somebody. So what you're really trying to do is a summary. Am I trying to get something from you, and is it something that I'm entitled to? Or am I giving you something, and am I giving it to you at the right value? And that can be with time. It can be with access to the outside lift. It could be anything. But that's really what we're saying, is the close is the way you try and sell the thing. And, you know, emails without a close, really, to be honest with you, and you see a lot of people that don't go and say, oh, you know, here's my final statements, and then sincerely, Joe, and all that. They don't, everybody thinks it's just a memo. And so as a result of it, you're really getting stuck into that. If you want it to look professional, say and finish the document with a sincerely or respectfully or truthfully yours. And so, and that's once again an opportunity for you to show your professionality in the business. So, and I've kind of gotten off point here, but you know, we're really looking, this is an opportunity for you to take a lot of goodwill without any real work, is this final close on the end. And over time, you know, you'll start noticing how people close theirs. Is it respectfully, or, you know, and you'll see people change their salutation or their closing statements. So just be creative and do it with respect to the other person, so that eventually they will start gaining respect for you, just because you are making it a little bit special for them.